Next, we will move on to the SSH connection protocol. What actually SSH connection protocol? The SSH connection protocol runs on top of the SSH transport layer protocol and assumes that a connection authentication connection is going to be used, that the secure authentication connection referred to a tunnel which is going to be used by the connection protocol to a multiplex a number of logical connections. So we will see about the channel mechanism over there. So always, if you're going to see about this, all type of communication using SSH such as a terminal session are supported using a separate channels. Either side may open a channel. For each channel, each side associates a unique channel number which need not to be the same on both ends. Channels are a flow control using a window mechanism. So no data may be sent to the channel until a message is going to be received to indicate that a window space is going to be available. Such a way it's going to create this window. So the life of a channel progresses through 3 stages: opening a channel, data transfer, and closing a channel. Opening a channel, data transfer, and closing a channel. So when either side wishes to open a channel, it allocates a local number for the channel and then sends a message of the form such nothing but channel type, channel sender channel, initial window, maximum packet size. All those data are going to be get transmitted over there. During that time, it's going to do that one. So that 4 types of things are going to be present over there. If the remote side is going to be open, the channel, it returns to a message called as channel open confirmation, channel failure, channel data, which is going to be in channel data, channel close, like that. It's going to give the particular things. And coming with channel type, there are 4 channel type, as I said. One is nothing but session, and which is going to be an the remote execution of a program. The program may be a shell, and an application such as a file transfer or an email, a system command, or some inbuilt subsystems. Once a session channel is going to be open, subsequent requests are used to start the remote program. And the next type is nothing but X11. So this refers to the X window system, a computer software system and a network protocol that provides a graphical user interface, GUI, for networked computers. And X allows applications to run on a network server but not to be displayed on a desktop machine. Third one, a forwarded TCP IP. This is a remote for port forwarding, as explained. We are going to see about that in the next slide. I will explain about that. And next one, direct TCP IP. This is a local port forwarding. I am going to explain the same thing in the next slide. Let us see about that port forwarding. Coming to the next one, it's a connection protocol exchange. This connection protocol exchange, how actually it's going to do its process. Let me discuss about the port forwarding so that it will be easy to understand about this connection exchange protocol. One of the most useful feature of the SSH is port forwarding. In essence, what happened, the port forwarding provides the ability to convert any insecure TCP connection into a secure SSH connection. This is also referred as an SSH tunneling. We need to know that when a port is in this in this context, a port is an identifier of a user of TCP. So any application that runs on a top of TCP as a port number, so incoming TCP traffic is going to be delivered to the appropriate application on the basis of the port number. An application may employ a multiple port number. For example, a simple mail transfer protocol, SMTP. The server side generally listens on a port of port number 25. So on incoming an SMTP request uses a TCP and address the data to destination port 25. So the TCP recognizes that this is the SMTP server addresses and routes the data to the SMTP server application. So if you're going to see about this basic diagram, here this diagram explains about a establishment of a connection between a client and a server, and they are going to establish authenticated transport layer. As usual, channel opens is going to be there. Channel open confirmation has been given over there. Data request is going to be processed, and it's going to be data data conversion has been, data transfer has been closed, and so that the channel closing is going to be requested, and channel is going to be get closed, and for the data will be get processing is going to get stopped over there. So if you're going to see about the diagram which have been shown, this connection via TCP, this is the basic concept behind the port forwarding. We have a client application that is identified by a port X and a server application identification by a port number Y. So at same point, the client application invokes the local TCP entity and requests a connection to the remote server on the port Y. So the local TCP, which is going to provide an entity, is going to be negotiated, and a TCP connection is going to be with the remote TCP entity, such that the connection links local port X to local port Y, which have been created. To secure this connection, if you're going to see that it's a connection via TCP, which is going to be an unsecured TCP connection. So to secure this connection, an SSH is going to be configured, so that an SSH transport layer protocol, which is going to be establishing a TCP connection between an SSH entity X to SSH entity Y with a secure SSH tunnel. This is the main thing which is going to be producing, or which is going to be establishing a TCP connection between SSH client and SSH server entities with a TCP port number A and B. So we are going to have the same value as TCP entity A and TCP entity B. So what happens here? A secure SSH tunnel is going to be established over this TCP IP connection, so that a traffic from the client X port is redirected to the local SSH entity and travels through the tunnel, whereas the remote SSH entity delivers the data to the server application Y on the port Y. So traffic in this other direction is going to be similarly redirected, so that SSH supports two types of port forwarding. One is local forwarding and remote forwarding. So local forwarding allows the client to set up an hijacker process. This will intercept selected application level traffic and redirected it from an unsecured TCP to the secured connection. Unsecured TCP to the secured connection, which is going to be created through the SSH secure tunnel. Here the SSH is configured to listen on selected ports. SSH grabs all traffic using a selected port and sends it through an SSH tunnel. On the other hand, the SSH server sends the incoming traffic to the destination port dictated by the client application. So that the example, if you're going to see the help clarity local forwarding, which is going to be there. Suppose if you have an email client on your desktop and uses it to get an email from your mail server via an POP, post office protocol. So the assigned port number is going to be POP3 is port 110. So we can see a small example that the SSH client sets up a connection to the remote server, and which selects an unused local port number, say 9999, and configure SSH to accept a traffic from this port destination destined for the port 110 on the server. So here the SSH client informs that the SSH server to create a connection to the destination, in this case mail server port 110. So the client takes an bit sent to a local port as 9999 and sends them to the server indicates inside the encrypted SSH session, so that the SSH server which decrypts the incoming bits and sends the plain text to port number 110. So in the other direction, what happened? The secured the secured shell hash server takes an any bit which has been received on the port 110 and sends them inside the SSH session back to the client, who decrypts and sends them to the process or connected to the port 9999. So with the remote forwarding, what happened, the user SSH client acts on the server behalf. So which is going to be a server behalf, and the client receives traffic with a given destination port number, which places the traffic on the correct port and sends it to the destination the user choose. A typical example of the remote forwarding is if you wish to access a server at a work from your home computer. Because the work service behind a firewall, it will not accept an SSH request from your home computer. However, from work you can set up an SSH tunnel using a remote forwarding, which may involve some 4 steps over there, which we have to form the work computer, set up an SSH connection to work from your home computer. So that what happened, the firewall will allow this because it has been protected outgoing connection. Second one, configure the SSH server to listen on a local port, say 22, and to deliver the data across the SSH connection address to the remote port which have been assigned from your home computer, say 4444. Third one, now you can go to your home computer and configure the SSH to accept the traffic on port 4444. Then finally, now you have two SSH tunneling that can be used for remote logon on the work server. Such a way the remote forwarding is going to be get processed, and it can be easy for us to do the process. We have been concluding this particular module with a small summary, and we have come across with a need of web security, and we have been discussed about the web security considerations, web securities, and we have entered into the SSL and TLS transport layer security protocols, and we have seen about HTTPS, and we have discussed about the secured socket SSH. So with this I am going to wind up this video. I hope that this video will be useful for you people to understand the module 1 of networks and cyber security, and I request the students, if any queries, you can please post your queries to me. So thank you for watching my module 1 in the network and cyber security of through this video. Thank you.